Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. We are continuing our string of videos based off of Super and Second seasons during the Beast Morphers hiatus. Last week I talked about whether Beast Morphers had the second season Super Curse. This week I decided it might be kind of fun to rank the Super seasons so far. I don't know whether I'll update this once we get done with Season 2 of Beast Morphers, given that it's technically not a Super season, even though it really is. Just Super season is really a name only, it's just another word for a second season. But Super seasons have been an interesting beast. In effect, they're basically just second seasons, which isn't an unheard of practice for literally every other show on TV. And in essence, it's not that different from us just getting a normal 40-episode season, or it's just a series. It's just stretched out over 2 years. I think there's a lot of psychological aspects to it, which sounds weird, but I feel that there's a lot of criticisms and hatred put towards it simply because Toku fans think that, you know, a Sentai series or a Ranger series has to be 40 episodes, 50 episodes all together, and really it's not that different in a lot of ways, but it's presented some interesting things such as trying to create a vibe of a new season in order to sell more toys, some of which trying to do that more than others, and it's created some interesting approaches to it, so I think it would be interesting to rank it. So let's start here. There's 4 super seasons. Let's start here at the bottom. At the bottom of the list of super seasons is Super Ninja Steel. Or, yeah, I almost wanted to call it Ninja Super Steel. That happened a lot. But Super Ninja Steel, I hate this season. It's probably my least favorite Power Ranger season ever. It's like, somehow you took what Neo Saban did, which was devolving to MMPR, but then went below it. The thing about Super Ninja Steel is its primary focus was filler. That was kind of a problem we started seeing in Dino Charge, where all of a sudden Power Rangers was putting filler at the forefront, where usually, you know, the filler plot would be the B plot. Even in filler episodes, when they had Ranger stuff, it didn't feel like it was an afterthought. And I mentioned this numerous times when discussing this season, but the problem with this season was the fact that, like, the talent show or them, like, building a skate ramp or something stupid was, like, the focus, and the Ranger stuff felt like the B plot, if not the C plot. And there was little to nothing going on. Most of the stuff from the first season had been resolved. The stuff they set up for the new season wasn't taken advantage of. It was practically like nothing really happened between the beginning of the season and the end, with just all filler in between, not to mention the awful stuff with Victor and Monty. This is just, in my opinion, the absolute worst representation of PR, and the worst super season that got rid of any momentum or setups from Ninja Steel practically completely. Coming up next, maybe a little bit controversial in the way I place these next two, but is Supercharge. And I've mellowed to Dino Supercharge over the years, but I still want to rank it a little bit lower because it really does suck that it ruined the momentum of Dino Charge, because Dino Charge was not perfect, but it was mostly solid. But Supercharge really, it started that tradition that Super Steel picked up of all of a sudden filler became the main plot. And Supercharge had the advantage of the fact that the quest for the Energems was a constant ongoing plot of the series, so it made it feel like there was more momentum than Super Ninja Steel, where there was like no storyline. So at least this had a storyline, but until like the last couple of episodes and a couple other anomalies, it was primarily shoved into the background of plots. Like the plot where Shelby was auditioning for the NZ Boys was like the focus during, I believe it was the Silver Ranger arc, and that just felt weird. That was very imbalanced the way that was handled, and not to mention it had stuff that was set up from Dino Charge that wound up being completely rushed and not paid off well. My main example being the storyline of Tyler's dad, which that's like a huge meme from Dino Charge, is like, Dad, 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 but that was like a huge storyline from Season 1, and it was resolved with an episode very quickly with a lot of stuff that didn't make sense, and it sucked to have all that payoff be swept under the rug so we could get to filler. And then we just find out his dad was missing because he was on the run from a villain that wasn't even chasing him this whole time. So that was very unfortunate to see that. And speaking of the dad stuff, that was another drawback of this season for me, is that whole thing became a meme, but when I rewatched it I realized that it was primarily Supercharge that I think had the most toxic of that whole quest for his dad thing. It was a major story in the first season, but the second season made it almost comical and annoying and kind of got in the way of him being a ranger, to be honest. Now, number 2, this is probably going to be controversial that I would rank this above Dino Supercharge on my super lists, but is Super Megaforce. The primary reason being, I think at least 70% of the hatred of this season, if not like 80 or more, is because of the anniversary aspects that they dropped the ball on. But I really didn't care about the anniversary stuff because at that time, I was sick of anniversary stuff. Now I'm even more sick of it. So that was the one element I really didn't care about, so I don't have as much strong feelings towards that. Do I agree it could have been done better? Yes, but I think that it would have been more important to make the show itself better before you worry about the cameos. So they did drop the ball on that. Super Megaforce, though, for me, ultimately is just a blah season. Its biggest crimes in terms of following up as the second season was that it didn't follow up on a lot of the setups for Megaforce. Megaforce proper was pretty generic as well, but it had some actually kind of cool ideas and interesting setups, like with Vrak and stuff like that, and with Evil Robo Knight. But most of the, and not to mention also, almost forgot, Troy's vision thing, and pretty much none of them were followed up on, and if they were swept under the rug, so they really didn't finish what Megaforce started. So that was one of the most unfortunate things about it as the second season. It was also the second season, the super season, that felt the most like they were trying to make it a new show because it's the only one to have an actual different set of Sentai suits. And I really liked the way that they transitioned it with the finale of Megaforce and going into Super Megaforce, but then it ultimately dropped the ball and was rather blah. The only reason that I ranked it higher than the other two, primarily, is even though it was rather generic and, to be honest, not all that good, is it didn't feel necessarily like the Ranger stuff was shoved to the background. It felt at least decently calibrated between its filler and the Ranger stuff, even if neither of them were that interesting. Now, coming in at number 1 is Power Rangers Super Samurai. I think this was the best Super season. It was kind of interesting because I think they more so developed the pattern of what they wanted to go for with Super Megaforce, of sort of trying to, you know, we got new suits of some sort. In Megaforce, it was quite literally, you know, a new Sentai suit, but it was more so the power-ups in the later seasons. But to sort of inject this excitement of a new season for the toys, and sort of trying to make it feel a little bit different, kind of have a conclusion at the end of season 1 and then a re-premiere for season 2. But Super Samurai kind of had the benefit of the fact that they were still figuring it out and they were trying to get things out very quickly, so it felt much more like a natural continuation and build-up from Samurai. And as such, it didn't feel like there was as much pressure on the show itself or from the audience for it to somehow justify it feeling new. And I think it was the only one for me personally that felt better than its first season and built off of its things, and the one that I can enjoy rewatching more than the others. But what do you guys think? What are your rankings for these super seasons? And out of curiosity, where would you rank Beast Morphers so far? I might do a little update on this once Beast Morphers ends its run. We'll have to see, but like I said, it's technically not a super season, even though it kind of is. Anyway, though, that's it for this one. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.